Ready for this?
This is actually serious. We talked about this for like almost a year.
I know. We've been talking about this for a long time, bro.
Yep.
Just the struggle of being a female musician,
Mm-hmm.
but also like the blessing that comes with it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's get into it. Ready?
Let's go for it.
Good.
Good. I follow you, bro.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
Hi guys, my name is legal name is
Legal.
Isabel,
Yeah.
but everyone knows me as Chave.
Yeah, and I'm Stephanie, but everybody knows me as Lazos.
Yeah. And you might ask why Chave? I don't know.
It just happened.
It just happened.
Yeah.
It's like I think it's like a cultural thing.
Yeah.
And why Lazos?
You know, I don't know. It's my last name.
Okay.
There's always a lot of Stephanies. You know what I mean? So, how do you single yourself out? You call yourself by your last name.
And it's funny because people think that Chave is my last name, but my last name is not Chavez.
It kind of does sound like it would be.
Yeah.
Isabel Chave.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not Chavez or Chave or
Yeah.
no, it's Garcia.
It's a
but
cultural thing, yeah.
It's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Yeah,
You know?
busy.
Getting ready for girls ministry camp.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're
Figuring
stoked
that out.
about it. Figuring it
Um,
out, getting the worship teams together. So.
Figuring out everything. I think
Mm-hmm.
GM has taken definitely a new turn,
Mm-hmm. It's a new chapter, new leaf, bro.
new chapter. I know a lot of people say like in the future, but like we're literally in the future.
Mm-hmm. The future
Like
is
I'm
now.
sure that there's girls or women that were a part of girls ministry in the past that prayed for moments like
Mhm.
this. So
Yeah.
just grateful.
Yeah. We're
that
just
we-
seeing like a new outpouring of the Spirit.
Yeah.
I mean, even in just last year's camp,
Yeah.
incredible. Like the new outpouring, the fresh outpouring,
Yeah.
and the girls are hungry for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think last year's camp you could see just the hunger and the
Yeah.
desire for them to they just want more. They didn't want to
Yeah.
leave the
They
altar.
did not.
And then seeing
Yeah.
like it was our first year that we had girls that were part of the girls ministry program
Joining us on the team.
joining us on the team, whether they that have been years since they've
Mhm.
gone, like with Diana,
Yeah.
with B,
Yeah.
or they were just still part
Still
of
in
the program
Yeah.
with Crystal
And they were
Sam,
leading the girls. Their
and they were
own
leading
girls,
the girls.
you
So I
know?
think it's I'm excited for this year.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think as musicians we carry the responsibility to lead
Yeah.
the girls well, and
Yeah.
I think that starts within ourselves.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I never in a million years thought we would be.
I didn't even know girls ministries existed, bro.
Yeah, me either. I didn't. I had no idea. I mean, the church I grew up at we didn't have girls ministry.
Yeah, me neither.
And so I learned girls ministry through a mutual friend of ours.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are now.
Here we are.
I think almost like 8 or 9 years later.
8 years, bro.
Yeah.
2015.
8 or 9 years later,
Yeah.
we're here and serving Jesus, and
It's been crazy.
it's been
It's
a
been a crazy
journey.
8 years.
Let's
Yeah.
talk a little about how we even started to.
Yeah, bro.
I think, I mean, obviously there's the age difference.
Yeah.
Gonna be 33.
And I'm gonna be 26.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of an age gap. I think more than anything, like what instruments do you play?
So my main thing right now is keys. But
Has
I
it
play.
always been?
No, bass it's number one in my heart.
Yeah.
That's the one I prefer. But there's a strong need for keys players right now. So
Yeah.
bass, guitar, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, and piano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, drums is my main instrument.
Yeah, for sure.
That's my baby. Drums is my baby for
Oh,
sure.
yeah,
But
yeah.
for the most part, I play a little of everything.
Yeah,
You know, I'm not. I wouldn't say I have like they're my strong, but me defiendo.
For
you know?
sure.
Me
For
defiendo.
sure. ¿Qué tal el pandero?
También la pandereta.
Amen, hermana.
You better praise Jesus with the triangle if
Come
you got the
on.
triangle. Praise him with
That's the
whatever.
best one, bro.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, but I started, I guess, since I was 6
Wow.
years old. I remember there was really no like blueprint of a female musician.
Nope.
When I
They didn't
started
even
playing,
exist.
no, I don't think so. I mean, I'm pretty sure female musicians existed,
For sure, but not in the church.
but not
scene.
within like a church,
Yeah.
or at least within my church that I grew up at,
Yeah.
or your church.
Nope.
I remember it was such a big deal when I started. They heard that there was this female drummer. Like they did a whole spread for Region 4. If you're Region 4 and you've been Region 4 for years, you know what, newsletter spread I'm talking about. And it was such a big deal of like, there's a female musician.
Yeah.
But I think just how there was a big deal and like a big like happiness of like there's female musician, there's also like a lot of like not so many happy people
I know.
within it. I mean, I don't know for you, like how was it?
Well, I mean, there was somebody before me that had started playing acoustic guitar. Shout out to Amber. She was the best. She kind of like paved the way for me to be able to play anything on that stage.
Breezy, shout out to Breezy.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's really the one that paved the way for all the girls in our church to be able to like be up there wearing pants.
Yeah.
And being able to worship with an instrument. And not just singing.
Wearing pants.
Actually wearing pants and playing an instrument on that stage. So.
Yeah. I mean, my dad was a co-pastor for a lot of years, and so I think the responsibility of making sure that, all the bases were covered. I remember I had to wear like a velo on my, remember the velos? I had to wear a velo on my legs, or like a towel or something. I had to wear skirts.
Yeah.
So me wearing pants was like something new. It was like, what is happening?
Yep. That was like the biggest shift.
Yeah. It shifted.
Then.
Yeah. But I think like in general, I think female musicians are like underrated. I think like
and underappreciated.
I think you got to work like that much harder to be respected. And not that it's like that the guys do it intentionally, but it definitely is something that at least for me, like I struggled with like not getting callbacks or not really getting I guess the opportunities like other people, like other guys, just because simply like I had to work that much harder to be respected in an industry or in a scene that's mostly from like a guy perspective.
Yeah. Especially drummers.
Yeah.
That's even to this day it's
Shout
rare
out to
to
the
find.
cops that are passing by.
True.
I'm pretty sure
even to this day it's hard to see a female drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people still get
Very
amazed
rare.
when they see female drummers.
They do.
That's why when I see Lizard and all the other girls that come to girls camp and they're all so excited to play drums, like,
and there's full bands.
Yeah.
That are like
Full
5
bands.
years old to
like
18 years old.
that's
it's
amazing.
ridiculous.
it's amazing because
Yeah.
I remember like back then it was like weird to see an all girl band. Even the times that we started, getting invitations with the girls ministry team to go out to different churches for their GM events, and they would ask us like, how do you girls all just play instruments? And but it was definitely a journey to get to that point.
It was. So what made you want to start?
Honestly, with me, my dad, shout out to my dad, happy Father's Day. My dad was I guess you could say like the person that influenced me to get into the music scene, or to get into like, even not like with the like leaving worship side to the side, just falling in love with music itself. I think serving Jesus was a whole different it's a whole different giant, but I think like like loving music or learning an instrument, it was from my dad. He plays a bunch of instruments. He was, at the time, like I said, he was a co-pastor, so he would basically fill in wherever it needed to be filled in, and like any church person knows what I'm talking about. Like, just had to be at church, and I remember like I loved it. I loved it. Like, I would fall asleep by the drum set. There would be vigilias, and I would be right there with my dad. And so it only took a couple of days for him to see that I liked to play drums, and he bought a whole drum set and drove my mom nuts with it, because it was like, what are you doing? Yeah, But I think even in that, like, it was like something that I had to also endure with my mom, because you know, I was her second daughter, but also like the only daughter that was into music.
Okay.
And not just any like, and not any instrument, but like the drums. That's mostly for guys.
Yeah.
She sees me now, and she shares stuff, and she's proud, and I'm just grateful for her, you know. But I think definitely it was something new for everybody, for me too, and for my dad, and for my mom, and for my sibling. Like, we had to stay at home till like I was like 5 or 6, and then 6 years old and on, it was like I was always with my dad at any event, at any church stuff. You know, I was at retiros and stuff like that with my dad. So it was really just me and my pops, like doing music. And so I could say like I understood the concept of having a relationship with Jesus, but because I was so little, like they saw that I had a calling, and so for me it was a little different, you know, when it came to having a relationship with Jesus. Because I actually had my first encounter with Jesus already serving Jesus at I accepted Christ through a youth service. So it was a little different. You know, it was a little different. What about you?
I was 8 years old when I came to church for the first time. It was in Easter. I think it was 2005. Crazy. Lizard had just been born. She's such a baby.
Little babies.
Yeah. And for me, Jesus, well, I didn't know anything about God. Didn't know anything about Jesus. And then they threw me with the kids. And my pastora, shout out to my pastora, she was giving the kids class. And there was probably like 50 kids in that class. We were in our old sanctuary. And just the way she spoke about Jesus, like, stirred something in me. Like, wow, there's somebody out there that loves me. And the way she spoke about him, the way that she felt loved and showed love, made me want to seek more. So it made me like excited to come to church. So my sister sang, my oldest sister. So she joined the worship team right away. My cousin was already in the worship team. So one random day, I would constantly go to rehearsals. So one of the random days that I went to rehearsal with them, they were like, hey, we need somebody on lyrics. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. That's where I started, lyrics. And I was crazy. 8 years old.
8 years old.
Doing lyrics. And I see the worship leader. His name was Abner. Shout out to Abner. Appreciate you, dude. He was the worship leader at the time.
Okay.
He was playing bass, had a mohawk, and he was leading worship. Yeah, just super beast.
That guy was a rebel, honestly.
It was incredible. And just the way that he would sing to God.
Okay.
Like
playing bass and leading worship?
Playing bass and leading worship.
That's like
and
caring.
guiding the band.
That's caring.
It was wild.
Yeah.
And then sometimes he would play acoustic. But it was when he would play bass, I level him up with like David. Like, his heart for worship is incredible. Like, just super inspiring.
Yeah.
One day he was like, I want to teach you how to play bass. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Like, and that's where it started. He just being inspired by my pastora, you know, accepting Jesus on that day, on that Easter in 2005. And then seeing Abner up there leading worship, playing bass, and just like heart of David after God's heart. It was inspiring. So in 2 weeks, I learned the bass.
Yeah, I think something with me, like, for example, my teacher was, obviously my dad taught me drums, but mine was Andy. His name was Andy Salazar. Plays electric guitar. Yeah. But he's a beast drummer. Like see him now, he's a beast guitarist now, but he started as a drummer and a bass player and started going, you know, different instruments, but Andy took the time to teach me coritos and totook the time to teach me El Cabita del Abrigo del Altísimo and Y si la lavas te gozas, you know, a little cumbia. And ever since then, like, you know, obviously it's been a journe, you know, to get to where we are now, but it was those three, bro. It was those three rhythms that just got me to just really learn and stuff like that. And I mean, it has evolved from what it was then to now, obviously. You know, like, there's all these bunch of new different things and technology that was, you know, from the era where there was a projector and you had
elbow.
You had to put the little
flip the little
laminas,
screen,
you know, like if you were a lamina person, like shout out to you because
Yep.
you kept us with our lyrics on
True,
point, you
true,
know.
true.
But it was like people like Andy, people like my dad, that thank God that they didn't, they weren't kind of, you could say, like they could just hold it all in. They
Mhm.
really did what the Bible says, like go and
Yeah.
multiply with your talents and your gifts that God has given you. And I think
For
it's
sure.
important to not just keep it all to yourself, that
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
able to expand other people's
Yeah.
understanding or
Mhm.
other people's abilities. I
Mhm.
mean, I've learned a lot from you.
Yeah. And I've
Um,
learned a ton from you.
and I think like it's important to understand like we're not in a competition,
No.
but we're in a partnership, and
Yep.
and we're learning from each other. We're
Mhm.
stronger together than we are apart.
Yeah, it's
Um,
true.
I mean, I think even the Bible talks about
Yeah.
that, you know?
And we play for an audience of one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not for the people.
Yeah.
It's
so
for him.
seeing like now, even with GM, like this TGM conference was my first ever
Oh,
event since
bro.
I've been part of girls ministry,
Crazy good.
where I did not play
Yeah.
in the worship team.
Yep.
It was Lizard, her sister, that
Yeah.
that played, and she's an excellent musician, and
Uh-huh.
her heart for God is amazing.
It is.
But I think it's like passing the baton and saying
Mhm.
like, hey, like you got it, you know.
Yep.
I think that was very. It was such a sweet moment for me.
Mhm.
Unintentionally, we didn't even plan on it.
Mm-mm.
But I ended up. It was a good thing because I ended up having to MC the event. But
yeah.
I see how much like she's enjoyed worship and how much she played her heart out, and
Yeah.
and just seeing her in that space now of like hearing young girls like be led in worship and singing their
Yeah.
heart out, and now she's a part of that. And
Yeah.
I highly, like I said before, I highly believe that she's the future of GM worship. I think like just understanding that it's okay when others step in,
Mm-hmm.
because
Letting the next generation
Yeah.
rise up.
yeah, we can't, we have to make sure that, I think as musicians and as leaders, we have to be okay with the next person
Yeah.
coming in.
Yeah.
And it's something that I learn every day.
It's something that we're all learning.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're just like, no, I want to do it. I want
Yeah.
to do it. And we just
I
want to
did
be
wanna
so
drum,
involved.
you know?
We just want to.
I did
yeah.
wanna drum.
Yeah, I
But
know.
at the same time, I felt like production wise,
Yeah.
we're working on building that. And so
Yeah.
shout out to my girls that came out too. You know, they killed it. And
Jasmine,
Yenny,
man,
and they
so good.
took it all the way in.
Uh-huh.
And just,
went above and beyond.
you know, I shared the vision with them, and they took it way,
They surpassed it. Yeah.
they surpassed it. Like,
Oh yeah.
they took it to a different level.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
But even that, like hearing like Connie message me, and you know, when I reached out to her, she was
Mhm.
sick, she couldn't come. So like she heard that I did a great job, right? So she called me and she was like, "Hey, I heard you did awesome
Mhm.
at the conference." So
Yeah.
it's like you get to see that from another woman in ministry.
Yeah.
That I think
That
it's
who
beautiful.
also passed on the baton.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
she could have just, you know,
She could have done it herself.
yeah, and she said no, like she got it. You know, she
Mhm.
was a little bit sick,
Yeah.
and she didn't come, and she was okay with
Yeah.
basically saying like you got it,
Mhm.
you know. So just seeing Lizard step into that, it was like batons were passed over at the TGM
Yeah.
conference.
Yeah.
And so I'm just excited for the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
It's big stuff.
big stuff happening, and
God's doing something.
Yeah.
He's stirring something up in the girls.
there's so many girls that are so talented, and so
And not just in worship, right? Like music worship. We're talking like drawing,
yeah.
art,
We saw some
photography.
talented people at this conference
man.
too. At the TGM conference, there's so much talent
And
like
creativity, bro.
yo, it's like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I think more than anything, their heart for God.
And the
and-
willingness that they
yeah.
have. Yeah.
I mean, I know like, you know, I'm about to be 33, so I'm a little bit on the older side than the girls, but I think seeing how in their shyness, they're still willing to say like, "Hey, I do this," you know, or like when some of them stayed behind to show us their art, or
Yeah.
to ask us about music.
Yeah.
Or I think all of that is important because I don't know, I'm pretty sure you could agree with me, but like I aspire to like be the leader that
That gives them the space.
wasn't really there for
It
you know
wasn't,
for
yeah.
us, because we didn't have a blueprint
Mhm.
of a woman and with women in
Yeah.
ministry. So
Yeah.
I think for you maybe it's a little different, you know, because you said like you had Amber, but for myself, like there was no other female musician in the
Mhm.
church, you know, so it was something new.
Yeah.
And so I think my heart for GM worship for sure is like that they're able to understand like, girl, you could do it.
Yep.
You could do it, and at the same time like seek Jesus, have those
Mhm.
private moments with Jesus.
Mhm.
Life is not easy.
It's not.
It's hard.
Yeah.
You know,
But he makes a way, bro.
he makes a way. I mean,
Bible says he goes before us.
yeah,
And he makes the way for us.
he makes the way.
He
of
wins the
everything.
battle before we even get there.
Yeah.
So
So I think like not just musicians within the church, but just girl musicians in general. Like
Mhm.
I think that like remember that there's this quote that says, "Remember that there's always someone watching you." Right. I
Mm.
think I think we've witnessed that at camp too, when the
Mhm.
little girls come up to us and talk to us and,
Yeah.
and tell us like, "Hey, like you inspired me to
Yeah.
do this," or
I want to do what you do.
Yeah. but it's like it's those little moments that
Mhm.
you're just like,
Yeah.
okay,
It's like seeing that little light in their eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, so inspiring.
yeah, I love it.
It like helps us keep going.
But obviously, like it hasn't always been that way, right?
Nope.
Yeah, I think
Nope.
the ups and the downs, and the personal battles that we've individually
yeah.
fought and stuff like that, they've been tough.
They have
mean,
been tough.
I, for sure, with my family, I think it was a season of like, it's been seasons of good and bad, and I think that comes with the responsibility that my father, like him having the calling. I think it's hard, but I know and I strongly believe in my heart that one day my entire family will come back to Jesus.
Come on.
And when that time comes, like it'll be just the best, so in the meantime I worship,
Mhm.
in the meantime
Yeah.
I serve him, in the meantime might have mistakes, might have my mistakes,
Mhm.
and might have my failures, you could say.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like Jesus has my back.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's been season.
Yeah,
it's
it's been
worship, honestly.
even
is-
just like the unraveling of understanding.
Yeah.
What is worship to
Like
me?
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's just it has to come from like a gratefulness.
Mhm.
Like your heart has to have like a grateful posture,
For sure.
and a posture of seeking Jesus.
Yeah, well, in reality, worship isn't even playing drums.
No, it's not.
It's not playing piano.
It's
or
not.
bass.
It's
It's the
not.
position of your heart
Yeah, it's the position of your heart.
unto God. You know,
If our heart is wrong, then it's just like they say, like como,
you're just doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just sounds.
stirring up some feelings,
Yeah,
emotion.
yeah. So I think like in general, like obviously it's been tough.
Mhm.
Some of the years. I mean, I've been living on my own for a while
Mhm.
already. So there was some times where I'll be like, I'm not going to church. Forget
Yeah.
that. But some way, somehow, like Jesus will use different people. Like,
Mhm.
hey, you have a calling. Remember.
Yep.
Shout out to any person that has ever been a positive
Yeah.
influence in my life.
Over both of us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate and we've had we just had a full circle moment, right,
Mhm.
with Liz,
Yeah. Bruh.
because
Yeah.
we met through one of our
Through
friends.
Liz.
Her name is
Shout
Liz.
out to Liz.
Shout out Liz Maya, the best in the
Mhm.
West. And I think like she was very influential.
For both of us.
Yeah, very.
She
Influential.
caught me at a really young. I didn't even know what worship was when I met Liz.
I was high key like going through it when
Yeah.
I
Same, bro.
I mean, we had already been friends, but it was like, like district wise, like, hey, friend,
Yeah.
like,
And me and Liz
we
knew
would
each other
serve.
through Victoria, who's shout out to Tor. She
pastor.
was a big
yeah,
she was a big influence over me just in like growing in my relationship with Jesus, but
Yeah.
even like Liz getting to LEBI was a
Yeah.
big like play in that.
yeah, and then she would have us over at Crossroads for pancakes and pancakes
early
and
in
worship.
the morning at 7 a.m.
7 a.m. call time,
Shoo!
and
Eating pancakes
and then she
with
started
the homeless.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
like, hey, can you play with tracks?
Yeah.
I have no idea what that is.
Nope, but we're gonna do it.
6/8. I hated playing 6/8.
Yeah.
Good,
Now
good
look
father.
at you, bro.
all those songs, Great Are You Lord, Jesus.
All she knew was chunka chunka.
I just knew like coritos and
Yeah.
tungas, and that was it, you know. And
Yeah.
she was like, actually, we're gonna work on that. We're
On
gonna
your
work
skill
on.
and
But I think like if she would have taken things a little different, where she would have been like, oh, you don't know how to play 6/8, like don't come no more kind
Yeah.
of thing. I think that, I mean, obviously that's not her character, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying like if she would have taken that route,
Yeah.
that probably would have,
shut you down.
yeah, or it probably would have never allowed me to grow musically and spiritually, because she'll keep you on track.
Oh yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
she'll keep you on track. But I think it's important to have people like that in
Yeah.
your life.
Yeah, Liz really paved the way, I think, for us to understand what discipleship was in the worship team.
Yeah.
Because before it was just, we need you to play and you're going to play.
Yeah.
There was no like check in. How are you doing? How's your relationship with Jesus? How's your heart? Like
Yeah.
Liz really like gave us an example of what a good worship leader
Yeah.
looks like
Yeah.
and a healthy worship leader
Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah.
Because it didn't matter what you were going through.
Mm-hmm.
First came your heart
Yeah.
and like how you were.
And she'll
then
call you
came,
out.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, no doubt.
She'll call me out. She will call you out.
She still calls me out.
She still calls me out
You're
for
probably-
sure.
Yeah.
She's probably gonna watch this and
You-
call us out later.
Yeah,
I'm just like-
literally. You're probably going to message us right after
But-
watching this.
But I think like it's just so, it's beautiful to have
Yeah.
people like that, because
Yeah.
imagine like growing old with,
No discipleship.
yeah,
And we see that a lot.
yeah,
Musicians that aren't willing to be
Sadly,
discipled
yeah.
because they were just told, I need you to be here, I need you here, I need you there.
I think mostly too is because of the mentality, or the new, I guess you could say, the new wave of people thinking like we're gigging instead of worshiping.
yeah.
Ugh,
That's a whole other topic.
talk about it.
Getting paid for worship, yeah.
I mean, I think, look, I'm not saying that you're not worthy of it, you know?
Absolutely not.
I'm
Bible
just
says the
saying-
worker is worthy of their pay,
Right.
right?
What I am saying though is, when our posture is just, how much are you going to pay me to be there? I think that
It's a fine line.
it's very fine.
Very, very thin, bro.
It's super
Yeah.
thin.
Like where's your heart at? Is the intention, am I gonna make money? Or is the intention, I'm gonna worship God?
Yeah.